Good morning, everyone. Nice to see everyone joining this morning. Welcome to our Mind the Moments Tuesday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with Abe Dejene, instructor with Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Good morning, Abe.
Good morning. How you doing today? And thank you for having me this morning.
I'm doing just fine, thank you. And it's great to have you here this morning. So today, for anyone that's new, we want to give you a special welcome this morning. And of course, we're happy to have our regulars back. But anyone's new to us, we've got you throughout the whole process. We'll guide you throughout. We'll start off with a question for the group. So Abe will share that with us, and then he'll share a few thoughts with us and then lead us in at least probably around a 12-minute guided practice. And after that, we'll have time for comments or questions. So if you can go to the bottom of your Zoom screen and open up your chat. And when you open that up, lots of people joining this morning. So when you open that up, you'll see the blue drop-down menu. And once you click on the blue drop-down menu, you can change it to everyone, and folks will see your comments as they come in. So with that, Abe, what kind of question would you like to start us off with this morning?
Sure. And thank you everyone for joining us this morning. So this question I've been playing with a lot in my own practice, and also when I'm teaching the different classes that I teach at Brown, is to really take a moment to reflect to see how we are. Quite often, for many of us in the world we live in, it's usually go from A to B to C to D. There's rarely any moment to check in with ourselves. So often I've been starting my own practice and my own teaching with asking the question of, how are you in this exact moment? You know, for many of us, maybe a colleague or a friend, they might casually ask you how you are. You might casually respond, I'm okay, I'm doing well. But to really ask yourself that question in this moment of how am I, and then see what comes up for you. And it might be supportive maybe to lower the eyes or even close them as a way to check in with yourself. And the response could be maybe on the emotional state, the physical state. So just as you let that question simmer internally for yourself of how am I in this moment, really making space to see what comes up to the surface for you. You know, sort of like peeling multiple layers of an onion. You might have an immediate response to that of, I'm okay, I'm doing well, I'm fine. And then just stay with that question a little bit longer and see what else wants to be revealed, to be known to you in this moment.
Yeah, I really like that you've shared that this morning, Abe, because I agree. And even as we sit for practice, sometimes we don't check in, and we go from 100 miles an hour to 0, and we might not really know what's going on in our bodies. So I'll share first. I feel this morning I feel a little apprehensive.
Mm.
I have a trip coming up at the end of the week, and for multiple reasons, feeling a little bit anxious about it. So that's where I am.
Thank you. I see
How
some folks
about
are starting to
you?
share.
How about you, Abe?
It's I asked this question when I first woke up this morning, and I realized because I have to travel later for work overseas and all the different obligations I need to fulfill between now and my flight this afternoon. So I felt a sense of a little bit overwhelmed, like, okay, I need to pause. So instead of usually my morning sit, I noticed there's a lot of restlessness in my own body. So I decided a little bit of movement before I sit would be really supportive. So checking in with myself in that moment clearly signified that I needed something else than just a sitting practice this morning. So I used that information to get a little bit of yoga in, and then I got down onto my cushion. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to mix it up a little bit, depending on how your body is. I love that. Yeah, so we've got some good responses. A little anxious and nervous, not getting sleep from Rizvana. Yeah. Sore and unsettled. Dan, I physically feel better than I have in a few days. Some tweaked muscle relaxed last night. Anxious pain from my recent accident. Sorry to hear that, Sheila. Anxiety for my child's test results. Wishing you well with that. Really, you'd had a nightmare just before waking. It's not real. Yeah. All this stuff happens. It is what's coming up, and it sometimes can be really good to get it out there, right?
Yeah, it's to me it's really a great way to check the temperature in the room for myself, whether I'm going into a meeting or I'm going into any situation that I know will require a lot of my own energy. Often, if I'm not checked in with myself, I often show up not realizing how agitated I am or how irritated I am. And then that creates sort of some tension in that dynamic. So I've really been infusing this question into my practice before going from A to B. And it's really, my experiences gave me enough information where sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have this meeting today. I just know it's not going to be conducive because of the energy I'm bringing into the space today. So it's been valuable in helping me assess what's the next best step for me, and then just hearing people sharing. And often when we do ask that question, what comes up can be quite challenging. So maybe that's the first time you realize you've been having chronic back pain or you have a headache or there's tension in the body. So to really meet that with kindness and compassion when possible, and even bringing a sense of curiosity about what comes up for you. Oh, there's discomfort. Like, what is it to actually come close to it? Because the human reaction often is to have an aversion to unpleasantness or discomfort. But seeing if there's a possibility to also bring curiosity to your moment to moment experience, even when it's unpleasant.
Yeah, so true. I agree that I think in our culture, we're so conditioned to, buck up and deal, or just push it away, or, man up, or, those kinds of phrases that just don't serve us well. So I agree, just checking in and sitting with it can help to dissipate some of these feelings as well.
Yeah, it's to me, any information that comes from that question, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, I call it good information, not because of what's coming up is necessarily good, but now I actually have something to work with versus I could go throughout the entire day habitually being irritated or agitated, not really understanding where that's coming from. But that moment I ask that question and then allow for some stillness, a lot of, at least for me, a lot of insights tend to percolate towards the top. And with that said, unless you had something else to add, I was going to lead us directly into the practice.
No, perfect timing. Sounds good.
Sure. All right. And once again, everything I offer here is simply a guidance. So to really listen to the wisdom of your own body and deciding what is the best thing for you. Some people have mentioned some pain, some discomfort. So if any little bit of movement might support you to settle into the practice, maybe using the next 30 seconds or so, maybe you roll out the shoulders or the neck, or you stand up. So just there's a lot of wisdom held within our own bodies. So if we just kind of quiet down and listen to it, it's telling you like, oh yes, there's tension in that shoulder, or there's pain in that lower back. So whenever it's possible to offer yourself some kindness towards that. And with that said, whether you're choosing to stand or sit, I invite you to begin to settle into this moment. And keeping the eyes closed is an option to allow the awareness to go internally to what's happening for you. But if you feel more comfortable with the eyes open, I would advise maybe lowering the gaze, minimizing the external stimulation, and turning your awareness inwards. And as you settle in, it could be supportive to be a little bit more intentional with the breath. With each exhale, releasing any effort that may not be necessary. Trusting the surface beneath you will support you. Often our minds, they tend to operate either in the distant past or the future, but the body is always here in the present moment. So it's a great tool to reconnect with what's happening for you now. So I would invite you to bring your attention to your feet, whether you're standing or sitting. You might notice the pressure, warmth, or coolness in this region. Allowing this to be the object of your attention for the moment. And then when you're ready, gently moving the attention upwards to the sit bone. If you're sitting down, you might notice the feedback from the chair. Feeling the sensations on the surface, but also those found deep within. And when you're ready, gently shifting your attention to the placement of the hands, whether they're resting on a body part or interlaced. Just being aware of what sensation could be felt here. The fingertips, the palm, the space between the fingers. And as you attempt to keep your attention on the hands, you might notice by now the mind might have splintered off several times already, planning, projecting, ruminating. The moment you notice that you're no longer engaged in the present moment, with that kind and friendly invitation to bring your attention back to the hand without any force, without any pressure. And then gradually moving that attention upwards to the shoulders. This is often a place where there's habitual tension and stress for many of us. So seeing if there's a possibility to soften and bring a sense of ease to the shoulders, allowing them to fall away from the ear. And now gradually moving that awareness to the entirety of the face, the jaw, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the forehead. And once again, see if there's a possibility to soften this region. Releasing the jaw, the forehead. And when you're ready now, the invitation is to shift your attention to sound. It could be the sound in your physical space, my voice. Not needing to strain yourself to hear it, but just to really open yourself up and receive whatever sounds enter your space without needing to label it or judge it. And then when you're ready, shifting your attention to the breath, wherever you feel it most alive and vivid. So it could be at the belly, the chest, the nostril, or your entire being breathing just as it is. So wherever you're noticing the breath, gently allow your attention to rest there. You might notice the depth, the shallowness. So being really in touch with the quality of the breath. So now choosing which one of those objects of attention feel accessible to you, physical sensations in the body, sound, or the breath. And then allowing that to be the object of your attention for the duration of this practice. And of course, undoubtedly, the mind will once again veer off. The moment you notice it, that friendly invitation to bring that kind attention back to your object and allowing the silence between my words to support your practice. And if you notice at any point in time, your attention is being pulled away by a strong emotion or sensation, you can choose to explore by leaning into it, to see what's underneath this emotion or sensation without needing to justify or analyze it, but to really make space around any of the pain or discomfort that may be present for you. And if at any point in time that feels overwhelming or unsupportive, always know you can return back to the object of attention you've chosen. And wherever your attention is now, once again, gently allowing it to rest on the object you've chosen. And as we come to the end of this practice this morning, however this practice may have unfolded for you, whether it was pleasant, unpleasant, whether you felt restless or agitated, really taking the time to honor yourself for making time to be here and to be fully present with who you are. And then when you're ready, in your own time, in your own way, gently begin by introducing small movements, maybe starting with the fingers and the toes, and then gradually allowing for those movements to be larger. Maybe roll out the shoulder, the neck, stretch overhead. And if the eyes were closed, to gently reopen them, looking around the physical space you're in as a way to be regrounded to that space. And then in your own time, rejoining us back here for our time together.
Thank you so much, Abe.
Yeah, I needed it too.
Really lovely practice. Yeah, it's interesting as you mentioned in the midst of your guidance, the if there are emotions that are coming up for you and that you can kind of explore those a little bit. Can you talk more about that? And I know that can happen where we might get overwhelmed
Yeah.
by something like
Well,
that.
that's a great question. I'll give that guidance to lean into the discomfort or the pain or the strong emotion that's coming up for you. And I always will follow it up with, if at any point in time that doesn't feel supportive, to return back to your anchor as a way to resettle you. Because it's true. There might be points in time in our practice where we don't have the resources, the internal resources to really investigate or explore the unpleasantness or the strong emotion. So it might not be in our best interest to lean into it in that moment in time. So I'll tell people two things. One, they could lean into it, and if it feels like overwhelming, you leave it alone for this practice, and then focus back on the breath or the body as a way to reground yourself. Then I also would give guidance around, sometimes maybe you could lean into it when it feels like it's too much overwhelming, come back to the anchor. And once you feel more settled or regrounded, you could choose once again to explore. It's almost like a pendulum swinging back and forth between my object of attention that allows me to be stable, and then lean into the pain and discomfort. So just to really give yourself a lot of grace around it. So maybe today's not the day you want to explore the strong emotion. And there's no shame or guilt around that. I think it takes a lot of skill and wisdom to know, like, today is not the day I go down this alleyway. Maybe tomorrow, with better sleep, better nutrition, I'm in a better state. Maybe tomorrow is the day you want to examine that. So to use wise discernment when to going into the unpleasantness field of, and often it comes up for many of us in practice.
Yeah, that's wonderful guidance because, even that, what you mentioned about kind of titrating in and out, can be a way to chip away at some of those things that are, difficult, but also need to be addressed. So yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you for that. And if anyone else has any questions or comments, a lot of gratitude here throughout the group for your practice and for your guidance. So glad to hear about that. But if anybody has anything else, feel free to share that in the chat. And we will be back here tomorrow, as always, on Wednesday for a Zoom meeting format. So we're happy for you to join if you're able. And I know our time is we're heading towards the end here, but Abe, I know you've not been with us for more than a couple times. So we're really, really happy to have you here and to have your gentle guidance and wisdom shared with the group this morning. So really happy to see you this morning.
Yeah, glad to be here. So I think I have one more session towards the end of the year, so I'm excited to be back as well and see
Great.
you and the community as well.
Sounds good. And I
Yeah.
know a couple of people have mentioned that I'm going to suggest to my teens about nutrition and sleep first.
Yes, very important. It's very supportive of the practice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, super beneficial today. So folks have a lot of thanks for the session here this morning. So again, thank you very much for being with us this morning, Abe. It's great to see you.
Absolutely. You too. I'll see you in a couple of months.
Yeah, sounds good. And thanks
All
to
right.
the community, everyone. Thanks for being here, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
And be
Wonderful way
kind
to
to
start.
yourself. Yes.
Yes, that's a great thing to say, is being kind to ourselves. So thank you again, and we'll see you soon. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.